Assalamu alaikum and Jandobri, brothers and sisters. Today's khutbah at Masjid An-Nur here in Des Moines was about the four enemies of the believers, and the greatest of the enemies of the believers is, of course, Shaitan or Satan, however you want to call him, or also known in the Quran as Iblis. But whatever name you call him, he's just plain bad news. But anyway, the Imam talked about how Shaitan and his cohorts, the non-believing jinn, try to influence people to do bad things, not outright, not say, like out loud, go do this, or you see Shaitan or a jinn and he tells you go do that or don't do that. That it doesn't work that way. It's like whispers. He talked about how in your salah, in your prayer, you are reciting a surah or some other part of the prayer and your mind wanders to something else. You are saying the words, but your mind is not focused on them. That's how Shaitan can influence you to either forget to do what you're supposed to do, or forget to avoid what you're supposed to avoid, or just make you think about something that's is totally unrelated to salat. Like he gave the example of you're you're reciting, say, Fatiha or whatever, and your mind wanders to a trip to a grocery store or a mall or some other place to go shopping or something like that. But you're still saying the words, but that's as far as it gets. Or you're doing something. Say you're just in your house or taking a break from work or whatever, and you get this thought in your mind of something that's not quite appropriate or something that's just slightly out of your character. That is a whisper of Shaitan. And the other enemies of the believer that he mentioned were the desires, following your desires. Meaning you desire something that may appear to be good, just in and of itself, but if you think about that too much or more often than you're supposed to, or you think about it at the wrong time, then it could be bad. If you're wanting to fast, but then you're thinking about food all the time, that could lead you to basically knock your fast out the window, and you'd have to make that one up, or somehow do something to make up for, to get rid of that mistake that you made. Or another enemy of the believer is your just yourself. He said in the world, the world itself, the dunya, is an enemy to the believer because of the temptations that are present. There's all kinds of things that can tempt us. Men looking at women when they should be lowering their gaze, regardless of whether the women are properly covered or not. Like a while back, I was properly covered. I was standing at a bus stop. I even have a half niqab on that I wear when I'm outside. And some guy passed by in his truck and was about ready to turn the corner, and he yelled a sexual comment at me. Of course, I ignored it. I wasn't going to dignify that with a response like what he wanted. I knew that was what he wanted, and I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. So you know, that's an example of following your desires. You desire something that you should not have, or you should not have at that particular time. You know, he he was wanting to see a part of a woman's body that he should not be allowed to see unless it's his wife at home or in their hotel room or whatever. But he said another enemy of the believer is, of course, yourself. You're human. We are all human. We do make mistakes, but we have to guard against you know getting lazy about not correcting ourselves if we make a mistake. If we make a mistake, we find out what needs to be done to correct it, and then we go on. We ask Allah to forgive us for that little oops, and we just go on and try to learn from it, try to improve ourselves. That's what we Muslims have to do on a daily basis. We don't stop learning about our deen. We don't stop trying to improve ourselves. Even the scholars of today that are the best brains when it comes to knowledge of Islam, they still have to improve themselves because they're human. They're not computers as much as some of us might want to think they are, but they're just people just like us. They just happen to know a few more things than the rest of us do. But so we are in a constant struggle to overcome these enemies of the believer, and by focusing on what we're supposed to do and thinking about what our ultimate goal is of attaining Jannah or paradise, then we can overcome these obstacles that Shaitan puts in our way. The Imam said that Shaitan promised Allah that he will try to deceive as many people as he can and lead them into jahannam or hellfire. But once there, after everyone has been divided into who goes to Jannah and who goes to jahannam, the the people in jahannam will hear sort of a lecture from Shaitan, and he'll basically mock them, tease them, ridicule them for not following Allah's command and following his suggestions. He's suggestive. He'll put ideas in your head very discreetly, very covertly, and if you follow those ideas and not what you're supposed to be doing, then you will hear this mocking from Shaitan in Jahannam after everyone is judged by Allah and everyone goes to wherever their final place is. So that is what today's khutbah was about. And Ramadan is coming. He again reminded us that we are now in the month of Shaban. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it is time to prepare ourselves for Ramadan. He said things like read more of the Quran, just try to do more good deeds. Think about how you're going to give zakat, or if you cannot give zakat, you can give sadaqah. You can think about how you're going to do it. Maybe plan for it, and think of coming up with an action plan that you might have for a work task, or a school task. You have a plan, you have an outline of what you're going to do with the steps, and then you do it. You follow that. So Shaban is kind of like that. You try to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And I'm not very good at that yet. Last year was my first Ramadan, so I'm still learning. I got a long way to go. So this will be my second Ramadan, and inshallah I'll get better at it. I'll find out more about what I can do and how I can do it. But this reminder to obviously myself. So I hope this is of help to all of us. And as usual, anything wrong that I say, it's totally my bad. I can't blame Allah. Anything good comes from Allah because Allah is the source of all good. So thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum, do widzenia, and miał Mila.